There we are. There now we are.
We're live. Hi, it's Jacqueline with Intuition Power with Stuart Elliott from Guilin, China. Hi, Stuart.
How's it? How are you doing?
We're live. Hi, it's Jacqueline with Intuition
You got
Power.
your friend with you again, haven't you?
Yes, it sounds like
How are you doing?
echoes, echoes of hello. No, that's
Mhm.
on your side. Is that on your side? Okay, so
It
I
was
think
your side. It was your side.
echoes of hello
Yeah, it's your
on
side.
your side. But on your side. Okay, so
People are lucky they get to hear you twice.
or 8 times. What's new in Guilin, China?
Well, we've got spring is really here, and as I was saying to you before, it's around 89 Fahrenheit, 32 centigrade today, and should be for the next few days. Evenings are still cooler. They're going down to around 20, but we're getting to the summer very quickly.
I wonder when we'll switch over to Celsius. It seems like the whole world has switched over except for us.
Well, when I was living in the UK, it was there, and then went to South Africa. I had to do the conversions in my head, and I used to know how to do it quickly, but now I've forgotten and I've got lazy. So I use
I,
the
w-
app.
I was up in Vancouver when they did the changeover, and
Mhm,
they basically announced we're going to switch it over overnight. Don't
mhm,
think about it, don't try to calculate it. Just within a short period of time, you'll figure it out basically on how it
mhm.
feels.
Yeah.
And all my friends up there did that. And it was practically no time at all. They were used to the different calculation.
Hmm.
But we seem to be the holdout here in the US.
Yeah. Well, the challenge comes when you've got to talk to people and translate the difference in temperature, either
32
whichever way it
degrees,
is.
freezing is zero.
Yeah. And it is 5/9 or nine over 5 or something like that. And then add or subtract 32. But
Okay, and what's that got to
it's,
do with ESP?
well, it's what you think, isn't it? Someone will feed you the answer. Or, as I it just had a thought, ESP could be everybody sees a problem. So we're talking about the
ESP.
temperature. Everybody sees a problem, but we see solutions.
No, I'd rather look at it as expanded awareness, balanced sensitivity, and refined perception. That's what ESP is in my world.
Yeah, and it is something which is very real, I think, but not
Well, it's led
everybody
my
agrees.
career. I took classes when I was in my 20s,
Mhm,
and I was taught to turn it on, turn it off, refine this
mhm,
system. And through this expanded awareness, balancing my sensitivity and refining my perception, you could turn it on, turn it off. All the remote viewing became very accurate. It
mhm,
got me into doing professional psychic work, which I thought would be a good way to start to earn a little bit of extra money helping people. And it turned into a very lucrative career helping
mhm,
people, and not only through the readings but also through classes, because I
mhm,
was a product of the program. And so I was able to it was interesting because the first time I taught the expansion class, a that's what we originally called it, the instructor manual disappeared. And they said, "Oh, Judy has it. No, I gave it to so and so. Oh, no, I gave it to so and so." Anyway, nobody had it. And there were people signed up, and I had 2 weeks before the class started. And I went to the original, my mentor. I said, "The instruction manual is gone. What do I do?" Nobody has it. And she said, "Well, there was always a reason." She always said, there was always a reason.
mhm.
I had taken the course 3 times. She said, "Bring your notes," because it was a little bit different each course. So we made another appointment. We went over the course notes and we rewrote the course. And she said, this is going to be a much better course because we now have this blueprint. And there was a reason why we put seeing auras, the energy field around the body.
Hmm.
We ended up putting that in class number 9 out of 10 classes, even though it's really easy to teach someone to see an aura. Within 3 to 5 days, you can learn to see it. But the issue is, even though you can see the colors, you don't know how to interpret what the colors are.
Hmm.
So that little bit, those couple of days of practice of 5 minutes a day, or maybe twice a day, to learn to see the colors, if it's meaningless, it's like, oh, I see colors. Well, what do they mean? I don't know. But by the time you're done with the course in class number 9, you understand how to interpret the details of, is it a red or is it a red orange? Is it a grayish red? Is it a pinkish red? All of those millions of colors make a difference. And by the time you're in the 9th core class, you've already understood how to work with color, frequency, what they mean, how to interpret it. And then when you turn it on and off to be able to see it, you know how to interpret it.
Hmm. So if we talk about aura, what is the first step someone can take, a simple step to become aware of auras of another person, not necessarily see them, but to become aware of them?
That is the first thing that you do. You slap your hands together, you press really hard. You can do it.
Hmm.
Why don't you do it?
Okay, you want me to do it? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So press really hard. You'll feel heat from the
Yeah.
friction. And then as you feel the heat, you stop and relax your hands. And what do you feel? Like a
There's like a
tingling?
coolness, a cool openness between the palms,
Okay. So if you do
tingling
what
in
I,
the fingers.
right. Okay. So if you do what I call silent applause,
You can feel that
you don't
there's something in
touch.
between. It
Right.
feels like
And it
something
could
in
be
between.
like that.
Hmm. I'll
Okay.
put it in front of my face. So, yeah,
Right.
there is a
And
feeling
then
of movement as well.
you make wider and closer, and you'll
Hmm.
start to feel it more.
Hmm.
And so then if you have a willing participant or
Hmm.
unwilling unknown participant, if you're standing next to someone in a grocery store and you kind of go like that and you activate your hands, you'll start to
Hmm.
feel energy. And if this is a person's back, you can kind of go like this across their back.
Okay, well,
And
that could be a little bit challenging these days if you did it in public.
just washing the window. Okay. But if it was someone that you knew and you could just practice with someone
Hmm.
to say, I am in an experimental process. I
Hmm.
am experimenting to see if I can feel heat or energy around your body.
Hmm.
And so and you'll start to feel cool areas. You'll start to feel one that's like extends out further.
Hmm.
And that's actually starting to identify a person's physical health or
Hmm.
energetic health. And so that goes into a whole different thing of healing and energy patterns and being able to sense um, things about a person. And then, but in the class, we teach you how to turn on the sensitivity and also turn it off. And with the hands, you could just kind of go like this, and that will help you neutralize
Hmm.
and turn off the sensitivity. So the whole thing about the ESP course, Intuition Power Master Course, is
Hmm.
that you learn to turn on these abilities and like 27 different types of exercises, and then also turn them off. And some people are already open and
Yeah.
they are too sensitive. They're like a sponge and they just absorb things from places or people. And it's very, for some people, debilitating,
Yeah.
painful. Um,
I remember when I was living in South Africa, I went on a weekend course, and we did some, channel opening and things like that. And the facilitator said, just be a little bit careful this week because you might find an extra sensitivity. Well, when we came back for the second portion, one of the gentlemen on the course, he said, I went to the hairdressers and I had to run out because the noise from the cutting the hair
oh,
and everything else was so loud. I couldn't sit there and let them do it.
yeah, we
So
did.
it is real. It is
Yeah,
real, isn't it?
we had, I had the class in Santa Monica, West Los Angeles, which was maybe about, I don't know, 10 miles away from LAX, Los Angeles International Airport.
Hmm.
And in a couple of the classes, we did some experiments to extend our hearing and to imagine extending our hearing to a specific runway.
Hmm.
And my teacher knew one of the air flight in the control booth of the airport. And so we were able to identify when a jet was taking off, and they were able to confirm. So then you add the visual and you can read, what's the name of the jet.
Hmm.
So extending your auditory accurately, or to hear in the past or hear in the future. So the Red Queen was correct uh,
Hmm.
in Alice in Wonderland.
Yep.
What do you mean when Alice said, I don't think I can remember tomorrow? And the Red Queen said something like, oh, what a pity. Your awareness only works halfway.
Yeah, it's true, and there's so many times I think that people have, should we say, to them, strange experiences, and they don't recognize that it is something real. They just dismiss it because they don't understand it. I mean, I remember once when I was still dating my wife, we were walking somewhere, and I managed to pull ahead without realizing it, and I'd actually got about 50 to 100 paces in front of her, and I just spoke to her as though she was by my side. And she heard it and she jumped. She says, what? There's nobody here who's talking to me.
Oh, God.
And I had no idea, but what I was doing. So it was something that
And she
I
married you
managed to do.
anyway. No.
Yeah, maybe that's why. But
Yeah.
is there a correlation between Reiki? Because a lot of people talk about Reiki and ESP and this type of
Well,
energy
Reiki
thing.
is, well, again, ESP, if it's uh, one definition is more of a psychic or intuitive awareness, where
Hmm.
I literally look at ESP as expanded awareness.
Hmm.
Expansion is the E. The S is sensitivity, and to balance your sensitivity, and the P is perception so that you can refine it. And so the ESP is something that each and every one of us has potential of developing.
Hmm.
And but most people, there's been a lot of programming saying, do not develop it, it's
Hmm.
evil, it's this and that and the other,
Hmm.
it doesn't exist. It is the potential of every single one of us. And
Hmm.
even going through our sleep state, the different stages of sleep as we close our eyes and we start to go into different brainwave patterns or levels of brainwave activity, that there are, or meditation or guided relaxation. We go through different brainwave activity, that there's a slice of it that is considered psychic in that psychic realm, and everyone can develop it. I think I mentioned last week or the week before, there was one gentleman that took the class a long time ago, and he was one of the superstars in terms of practicing with the other students on every different, like 27 different types of exercises. And he was so accurate with tuning into the past, tuning into the future, because people would show up the next week or 2 weeks later and they go, what you said happened exactly the way, so and at the end of the class, at the end of the 10 weeks, he came up to me and said, thank you very much. I went through the course, and now I absolutely know that ESP is a bunch of hogwash.
I
And it
remember you
was
saying that.
like, how he could come to that conclusion was beyond my wildest imagination.
Well, again, it's his filters and brainwashing that's been brought in to
Right.
play,
It
isn't it? He's
reminds
dismissed
me,
everything.
right. It reminds me of the teaching the spoon bending. Some of the people know that I teach people how to bend metal with their mind. And it started as a research project with the space program. And we're even doing this on Zoom in a 2 or 3 hour class. And everyone can do this. And there was a class that Jack Houck, he was the scientific researcher with the space program at Boeing that actually started the research project. And he said, and so there was one very, very skeptical gentleman. And at the end of the class, when usually there were between 60 to 100 people in the class. And there was usually about 97% success rate. And depending on what level of bending we got to. And this gentleman came up and said, now I know this is bogus. It's fake. It's crazy. I don't know how you make all these people pretend all this stuff, but I know that it's fake. And he went out to his car, and his car key was in his back pocket, and his car key bent. So he couldn't start his car.
And he was not impressed, was he?
So I've had people in the class, and so this is like kindergarten bending, and then we go to high school bending, which is buckle the bowl of a spoon, which folds over like this or more. And when you're doing this, you could just be going like this, flicking it, and it just collapses. Well, that takes between 400 and 800 pounds of pressure per square inch to do that. So it's not physically possible, even with two hands, no matter how strong a person is. The metal,
And I've tried, but
yeah,
it doesn't work.
and then there have been over 20,000 people that have been through the training program. And it was turned over to me to continue back around 2010 or something like that. It's been a while. And so it's because of the shape of the metal, and it's metal. But there are grain boundaries. There's a lot of space in between. And so by learning to focus and focus energy like you blow through a straw, you create an energy flow.
Hmm.
Well, when you start to understand through the course what you're doing with your mind and sending energy to a specific outcome, and then when you get to see the results of it, it's pretty powerful. And so the empowering concept of this, it's the same kind of energy as doing the fire walk, walking on hot coals. And
Hmm.
there's a frequency that you have to access to do it safely. But the difference between the fire walk and the spoon bending or metal bending is at the end, like I did the fire walk the first time with Tony Robbins and then the second time with T. Harv Eker, but T. Harv Eker's our fire walks was 33 yards,
Hmm.
a third of a football field. It was like it wasn't just 3 feet on and off. It was like keep going.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. A lot of people got burnt in that second one.
Mhm.
But it fades away. The memory and the intensity fades away with the firewalk, at least all the people I've interviewed about it.
Mhm.
And with this, you put it on the cabinet or you keep it. And then if you have any doubt, you just pick it up and it's like, yeah, I did this. And you don't have to do it again. You just remember it, you see it,
Mhm.
and it's like, yeah, I did that. I'm so powerful. And that's the reality. Each and every one of us are so powerful.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
so easy to develop and refine. It's crazy.
Mm. I've seen a similar type thing of the power, of your thought with archery when I was shooting archery. I remember specifically one competition I was in, and 3 out of 4 arrows, three had hit the center. And the fourth arrow was going to the center. And then I just lost my concentration for a split second and it was gone. It missed totally, disappeared because I suddenly thought about something else and had that rather than have that focus. And this was in mid-flight. It wasn't even leaving the bow, it was in mid-flight. And I read someone, I can't remember who it was, but they said that when you're shooting like that, you're creating a channel from your vision, from your mind for the arrow to go down, an energy channel. And if you keep your eye on the target, then it will go. But if you let go, it has its own energy and it goes where it wants to.
And that's the same thing with any kind of goal.
Yeah.
Once you come up with a thought and you create the end result, that's
Hmm.
a kind of channel. It's a frequency that is real.
Hmm.
And for people that are not practiced in that, some books on manifesting say, don't tell anybody what your goal is
Yeah.
because it's not strong enough a channel and your belief system can be influenced. Other people, if you're surrounded with people like you, like me, that can go, yeah, let's all focus on that. They can add to your ability to manifest because
Hmm.
they strengthen.
Hmm.
And so, like for example, when I do psychic readings or when I teach people to do intuitive readings, whether it's the
Hmm.
tarot or I Ching or numerology or whatever it might be, it's a matter of um, well, there's some refined techniques that I always integrate into my classes so that people um, don't pick up, like when people, well, how do I say this? When people have readings with me, sometimes they say, I want to hear all the everything. I can handle all the good, all the bad. I want to
Hmm.
know. And I said, not me. I don't tell you bad because I will give you the cause of a problem or the end result of why you needed to go through that.
Hmm.
So, God forbid, somebody goes through a car accident. I won't see the car accident. I will see maybe either the cause of the car accident, and then I'll go, well, gee, in between 2 weeks and 3 weeks from now, make sure that you drive carefully and make sure that you're not angry when you get in the car.
Mhm.
That's what I'll see. Or if they have to have the incident or the occurrence, because let's say, well, in 2 to 3 weeks, there'll be something coming up that might be unexpected. And the result of whatever that was is going to lead you to meeting your spouse. Maybe in the emergency room or the hospital, or and I don't need to
Mhm.
see that, but to communicate and go, oh my God, you're going to have an accident in 2 to 3 weeks. I don't
That's
want
not
to,
a good thing to
I don't
say
want to
because
plant
they're going
that.
to program them.
Right, exactly. And so the way that I was trained is I don't even perceive information that way.
Mhm.
That was because of the training that I was given, because it's being responsible
Yeah,
to
that is very, very
influence other
important.
people.
Mhm.
And that takes some training,
Mhm.
and it takes practice.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's been my career. I don't.
Yeah, and as you were saying about goals, a lot of people may have an idea about what they want to achieve, but their actual goal is not achieving it. Because they have this doubt in their mind and they're focused on the doubt, and that becomes the real goal, achieving that doubt rather than the goal itself,
Well,
because the goal isn't powerful enough.
that's not their conscious.
No, it's
intent.
unconscious. Yeah,
Right.
it's an unconscious thing. And
Yeah.
then
Well,
they
that's the work
find
that you
ways
get
of
in.
proving that they were right.
Yeah. Well,
Proving that,
that's the work that you get into.
yeah. And if the other thing about working with some people, sometimes working with people with hypnosis is don't let them know what happened in the session. Don't let them see a rerun, because they'll start second guessing and going back to their old patterns again, because that's what's been ingrained in them. And for many, many people, their life is one whole procession of doubts about their abilities.
Oh, that was so funny. I was doing hypnosis on a woman for weight loss once, and
Mhm.
she asked me if I could record the session, and I said, okay, I'll do that for you. And um and I started counting backwards with relaxation suggestions,
Mhm.
and she like she kept like popping out, and then finally, on a scale of one, on a number from 1 to 10, like when by the time she got to 8, she like sat up and she says, why are you doing that? And I said, what? You're skipping numbers, you're trying to trick me. I said, no, you're in hypnotic regression, you're in an altered state. No, you're doing. And I said, sit up, take a deep breath, bring yourself back. Are you, wiggle your fingers. And I said, watch. And I stopped the recording, and I re-ranged it, and I went forward, and I said, okay, that was 1, that was 2, stay awake. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She goes, oh my God, I could have sworn you were tricking me and you were skipping numbers. I said, it's called hypnosis.
Yeah,
It's pretty
but
funny.
it is funny, and sometimes it's useful, but quite often it's not useful. Your unconscious has done the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just let it be and
Yeah.
let it continue.
Yeah.
Don't
And
second
then,
guess it.
yeah. And then in terms of brainwave patterns, like hypnotic, there's different levels of the mind.
Yeah.
And when I was finally tested by Jack Houck with the electrodes, and he said, go and meditate, sit down, meditate for 3 minutes.
Hmm.
And so he recorded my brain patterns, and he did that 3 times. And then at the end, he said, okay, I didn't expect that. And I said, what? And he goes, you're number 10. And I said, what does that mean? He says, I've done about 10,000 people researching brainwave patterns.
Hmm.
He says, you're the 10th person. And I said, what does that mean? He says, you immediately went to the Schumann resonance, held it at the highest amplitude until I said, stop. And you did that 3 times in a row. And he said, I thought you would have a psychic pattern. And I said, what does that mean? He says, well, psychic pattern is random spikes in the alpha range of measurements of brainwave
Hmm.
patterns. So we ended up having further discussions about what does that mean. But I said that my teacher had unusual brainwave patterns, and when I asked and when I heard he had the equipment to do it, I said I'd like to have mine tested, and he goes, "Why?" And I said, well, I don't know. I was taught to merge minds at a higher level with my teacher. That's how I was activated.
Hmm.
And I'm curious. I'm just curious. I have no hidden agenda what my patterns are. Okay, we'll make an appointment. And so I did that. And so after he tested me and saw what I was able to do, it opened up a whole different level of friendship and communication between us.
Hmm.
And I immediately said, who are the other 9?
Of
and
course.
and he was actually one of them.
Uh-huh.
So I, in subsequent follow-ups, a couple years later, I had him do it again, and then a few years later I had him again, because I was not sure if I was just merging with his ability, because I knew that I had the capacity to do that. And that's part of the training that I do with people. It's almost like, I've got this gift and I'm going to give it to you, and you'll be able to develop it and refine it very, very quickly, because I
Hmm.
just, it's kind of like working with a master mechanic or a master at anything. You work with I had a master artist who taught at a very prestigious art college, and he's got 2 Guinness World Records for chalk drawings.
Hmm.
and he does like design for major theme movies, and he just does every type of art, from clay sculpture to crayons to, I mean, you name it,
Hmm.
he does it, and he's just totally gifted. But he's also gifted at teaching.
Yeah.
So that's uh
So
that's
teaching is interesting because many people, they don't teach, they tell you. And you often develop a resistance. And I remember a beautiful story from one of my mentors in hypnosis. He was at home and he wanted to build a wall in the garden, and he's got no idea how to build a wall, but he's got the bricks, he's got the cement and everything else. And his neighbor happened to look out the window, and his neighbor was a retired bricklayer who was, a master bricklayer. And he came out to have a conversation and said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he, I said, "I'm trying to build this wall." I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And he started asking questions and said, "Well, I wonder what would happen if we do it this way, if we just move that, or did just do this, or something like that." And in no time, this perfect wall was finished. He had that gift of just, teaching without teaching. It was beautiful. He said he couldn't believe the result and how easy it was for him to do it rather than struggling.
You're right.
So there is a gift there, and that's part of the personality that we have sometimes, isn't it?
Right. And what's exciting is once you start, like you worked with, was it Bandler and Grindler?
Grinder,
Grindler,
Grinder, John Grinder, yeah.
the founders of neurolinguistic programming, or NLP. I mean, the most brilliant people. Their books are phenomenal.
Hmm.
And when you get to work with that level of brilliance, it can rub off and
Yeah, I
really,
mean, there's part of the energy that they share with you, and it stays with you. And
yeah,
you can't. It's not easy to put into words, but you feel different just by being with them and having a conversation with them.
right,
And
right.
it's so beautiful to be able to experience that, and that's why it's great for people to have a conversation with yourself, because they can pick up from you. And we have these conversations, and I pick up a lot from you. So
Okay.
it's
Well,
my
maybe we'll
advice is
talk
for
about
people to get in
NLP.
touch. Yeah,
Maybe
get
we'll
in
talk
touch
about
with you.
NLP next week.
Okay, we can do that. But yeah, I mean, people need to get in touch with you and have a conversation with you, and just put their resistance aside and just let their curiosity guide them, because
Yeah.
that's what the truth is. Curiosity is one of our best teachers.
And the reality is it makes life a lot more fun.
Yep, definitely, definitely.
So, yeah. So intuitionpower.com, we'll be starting classes sometime soon. I don't have dates up yet. And how do they get in touch with you for
Yeah.
describe what you do real quick?
Well, I help people to, tap into their unconscious and, develop a strategy with them to use it to their benefit. And a lot of people have got past programming that is embedded in their unconscious, which is not necessarily to their benefit. And we can get rid of that. We can replace it with better situations. And it all starts with having a conversation. And I call it an unconscious, a subconscious, subconscious strategy session. And they can go to my website, Coach Stewart, CoachStuart.com, and they'll find the link to book a call, and we can get on the call. It won't cost them anything. It could be the best move they ever make in their life.
Yeah, it's amazing. Have a session with Stuart. Well, you can for complimentary, nothing. Just have the time. And I want to thank you for joining me today, as
It's always a
always.
pleasure and an honor. And don't forget that the listeners must share this with whoever, because we don't know. You never know who needs to hear
Right,
one of those things that we've
right.
discussed.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, and thank you for pressing that share or pressing a little heart thing or
Mhm.
leaving a comment. And
Okay.
uh, wishing you a happy week and hope to see you next week.
Yep. Bye bye
Okay.
now.